Coming up, the city of Joplin will begin laying to rest 2 fallen police officers.
Overnight and early morning rain staying down to our southeast has remained light and should not interfere with the funeral processions. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch website.
Also, the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks invites the public out for a week-long blood drive.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. We're going to start things off by tossing it over to Michael with a first look at the weather.
Probably noticed some raindrops on the windshield, whatnot. Intersections just a little damp. I wouldn't even call them wet, Bronte. Really trace amounts of rain from overnight into the early morning hours. Majority of it staying not only south of I-44, but all the way down southeast of our highlighted counties. Even this one coming off of the Red River right here, it's going to take more of a northeasterly route and kind of skip us altogether. So all things being said, we're pretty much done for the morning. A little cooler as we see the color contour there. It'll recede to the northwest though, and mid to high 40s pretty much everywhere else. 47 is where we stand here at the 5:01 hour in Joplin. Big trough of the jet stream now going to ride its way along the Gulf Coast, and that's why that'll kind of push that just around the Tennessee River Valley up to the Ohio River Valley. Still got the split jet stream with a big west to east motion right there across the Great Lakes. But for our weather trend here in the 4 states, even though we start off cloudy, we'll get a little late afternoon sunshine and be able to lift ourselves into the 60s. And there's that one we were talking about coming off the Red River. Kind of skirts itself through central Arkansas before it ducks off. And while we clear out for today, a nice overnight as well. And then for Wednesday, we even warm up to the point where we're going to be throwing some 70s up on the board before it's all said and done. It's a 7-day forecast with our incremental warm up for Wednesday and Thursday. St. Patty's night going to bring us some scattered activity once again into Friday morning. A little bit more certainly than what we picked up last night into this morning, but nothing severe. And key factor, once again, I'm going to hammer this home, well above the freezing mark. No chance for any wintry precipitation.
Definitely a nice increase from last Friday. Although
yes,
that did clear up pretty quickly.
Well,
but
and I, you know, it's nice that we can throw up these 70s just like we did last week,
yeah,
and not have to worry about the rug being pulled out from under us temperature-wise, as we're able just to ride 50s and 60s into the weekend.
This is a pretty nice spring forecast.
Mother Nature and I are doing what we can. We knew that you were on this week, and we had the text string going over the weekend. Mother Nature's like, I'm going to throw Bronte a bone, West Coast girl, kind of give her some warm temperatures.
I appreciate it, so thank you.
She's a fickle mistress, so.
All right, thanks, Michael. 2 people are dead after a crash early today in southeast Kansas. It happened around 6:30 this morning on 169, about a mile east of Humboldt. The Highway Patrol says 2 pickup trucks hit head-on. Both drivers died at the scene. They were 62-year-old Gordon Lane of Ottawa, Kansas, and 45-year-old Jamie Lynn Ellis of Iola, Kansas. 2 occupants of the Ellis vehicle, an adult and a 6-year-old child, were taken to the hospital for suspected serious injuries. A Lawrence County, Missouri judge sentences 2 more suspects in a kidnapping and murder case. Authorities say Andrew Cypret of Billings and Lyle DeLong of Stott City were 2 of 9 suspects involved in the kidnapping of 2 women in the murder of one, Sarah Pascoe, in August of 2020. Cypret and DeLong both pled guilty to charges of second-degree murder and kidnapping. The judge sentenced them both to 32 years in prison. 4 other suspects in this case have already been sentenced. You can learn more about those sentences in the case on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Last week's shooting that left 2 Joplin officers dead and 1 seriously injured has hit close to home for the staff of Eastmoreland Elementary. The shooting at 9th and Connecticut was in Eastmoreland's attendance boundaries, which meant the school had to come up with alternate plans to getting kids in that area home that day. But it had another impact. Officer Rick Hershey, who was seriously injured, had served as Eastmoreland School Resource Officer for 15 years, having left that position at the end of last school year. We spoke with staff at the school who say Officer Hershey had a profound impact on not only them, but the students he served.
Yeah, Officer Hershey was just one of the most dedicated individuals I've worked with over the years. He built a relationship with everyone that he came in contact with, and he has such a huge love just for people in general, not just our students, but our staff and everyone in the community. There wasn't a time when I wouldn't be out in the community and see him and he wouldn't be interacting with someone.
Serbrugge says Eastmoreland is collecting coins for cops, a fundraiser to provide a meal to the Joplin Police Department. She adds any money left over will be donated to the officers' families and to the Joplin Police Department. Mourners are paying their respects to Corporal Ben Cooper, who was killed in last Tuesday's shooting. The public was permitted to attend a visitation that ended at the Leggett and Platt Athletic Center at MSSU at 8 last night. His funeral will be at 1 today at the same location. Corporal Cooper was 46. Missouri's Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe ordered all U.S. and Missouri flags be flown at half-staff at all government buildings in Jasper and Newton counties in honor of Corporal Cooper. Funeral services will also take place this week for Officer Jake Reed, killed in the same encounter. These services will also be at the Leggett and Platt Center. Visitation will be on Thursday from 4 to 8 p.m. The funeral will be on Friday at 1. Officer Reed was 27. If you'd like to give back, the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks is hosting a blood drive in honor of the officers. The Unite Joplin Blood Drive is taking place at the Donor Center inside of Joplin's North Park Mall. For each donation given, the Blood Center will donate $5 to the JPD Officer Benevolence Fund to benefit the families of the officers. Donors also receive a long-sleeve pullover and a t-shirt.
We wish this need never occurred, but when these things happen, we are so proud of our donor base. They are so dedicated to the patients that we serve. Community Blood Center's job is to serve 44 local hospitals.
The Unite Joplin Blood Drive lasts until the end of Friday. Well, today is National Kansas Day. Kansas became the 34th state on January 29th of 1861. In that same year, Topeka was named the state capital, outpolling nearby Lawrence by some 2,700 votes. The name Kansas is derived from Kansa, or Kaw, whose name comes from a Siouan language phrase meaning people of the south wind. Kansas is known for agricultural production and is known locally as the air capital of the world due to its longtime status as a major center of production for general aviation aircraft. The state bird of Kansas is the western meadowlark, and the state flower is the sunflower, the same as the national flower of Ukraine.
That name was apropos yesterday with that south wind that was coming in so strong. Actually, though, when the front moved in, everything calmed down. We're just going to have light and variable breeze today. Not too bad whatsoever. Temperatures already up into the mid to high 40s, and that overnight rain, all we got left are just some sprinkles. That's about all we'll see for the afternoon hours, and even our cloud cover is going to break up here later this morning into the afternoon hours to the point where some sunshine will lift us up into the mid 60s.
Thanks, Michael. Well, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Does a gorilla know how to use a broom? We'll find out in sports as Pitt State looks for a sweep against the Bearcats. Plus, we'll introduce you to one student who plans to break a record during his spring break. Stick around and we'll tell you what it is. And Missouri is one of the worst states in the nation when it comes to maternal...
In the universe, the pitcher is fierce.
Pitt State Gorillas winners of 6 in a row. That includes the first 2 games of a 3-game set against the Northwest Missouri State Bearcats. Pitt State trying for the sweep in the series finale against Northwest. Find themselves, though, down 1 run in the first until Garrett McGowan into right center. Caden Fowler's going to trot in, and we're tied at 1 in the 5th. Back down 3-2. McGowan back to work. 2-run home run opposite field. He's got 11 this year. Pitt State now with a 4-3 lead, but Northwest gets 5 in the 6th inning, so the Gorillas have to fight back again. Caden Fowler to right with a man on. That's a 2-run home run. Pitt State rallies. We are tied at 8th going into the 8th, and in that 8th inning, still tied. Garrett McGowan. Get here. Get legs. Oh, off the top of the wall. Cruz Aranda scores. McGowan 3 for 4, drives in 5. Gorillas up 9-8 as Jordan Mendenhall finishes it off on the mound. Gorillas sweep Northwest. Final score of the finale, 9-8. Missouri Southern also looking for a sweep on Monday as the Lions finish up a series on the road against Central Oklahoma, and they rolled, winning 18-7. Matt Miller, 3 for 5, home run, 3 RBIs. Henry Kusiak, he drove in 4. Southern right back on the field today, going to be on the road against Rogers State. Pittsburgh State softball team opening up league play on Sunday, had a doubleheader sweep over Lincoln. And then the Gorillas back at it, trying to stay rolling against Central Missouri. Played 2 on Monday in Pittsburgh. Game 1 goes to the Jennies, however, 6-3 the final. Corey Stonestreet and Taylor Lambert did each homer. Stonestreet drove in 2 runs. So now we go to Game 2 as Pitt State tries to earn that split. Bats hot after getting 5 in the first. Matty Szymanski on second, or in the second inning, puts it in the left. Here comes Kylie Boley. Still in the second, Gabby Schultz lifts one to left, goes off the left fielder's glove, over the wall, and that's Aubrey McRoberts out there in left field. Thank goodness she was able to get up. Great hustle. Does end up being a home run. She was able to walk off the field on her own. Back to action, Hannah Harrison. Big strikeout because the bases were loaded right there. That ends the top of the 6th. Harrison, complete game, allows 2 unearned runs, strikes out 6. Bottom of the inning, Paxton Hayes ends it into the right field corner. Taylor Lambert scores, and that is it. Gorillas bounce back. Blowout game to 10-2. Missouri Southern softball also at home. Doubleheader against Lincoln, dominated from 1 o'clock on. Game 1 went to the Lions 11-3. Kara Amos, 4 for 4, 3 RBIs. Josie Toffby got her first homer of the season in Game 2. Ashlyn Williams goes 3 for 3, triple pair of RBIs as Southern wins a shutout and a sweep with the final score of the second game, 4-0. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News as fighting escalates in Ukraine. So does tension between the U.S. and China over potential involvement. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. 5:17 on this Tuesday morning. Roll a little weather on the 7s as far as our daily almanac goes. Really, the rain from overnight early this morning going to end up being just trace amounts. Hardly even saw anybody even pick up 1/10 of an inch. It's really going to hamper the drought monitor, especially when we push into our western counties of northeast Oklahoma. We're starting to see extreme drought creep up right there. This is the extent of it. It's a 6-hour loop. Now where we have most of the rain coming in down to the even south of our highlighted counties, even this big one right here getting ready to ride the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line is going to take off to the northeast. Really shouldn't play a role in our morning weather. Anything that you do have, simply going to be some light sprinkles for the rest of early morning hours, and then we're going to be done. Good shot of the moon right there. Remember, not officially full until the 18th, so we got a couple days, but still kind of neat, obscured by just some light cloud cover. 47 degrees right now over Joplin. Let's roll 48 in both Chanute and Parsons, 46 in Miami. Nevada and Lamar chiming in right now at 45. I don't want to call it sticky because it's not that warm outside, but you'll notice that humidity and how it's lingering, hanging about very, very high. But hey, it beats the elevated fire concerns that we've had for the past couple of days with the humidity dropping so low. Skywatch Storm Tracker, this is where we'll see the severe thunderstorm activity for the rest of our Tuesday. Really going to ride the Gulf Coast all the way into Florida. Colder temperatures up to the northwest. We see that dividing line right there. They're all above the freezing mark. So like I said, as long as we keep it right there, which we will all the way into the weekend, any precipitation that we do pick up going to stay simply as rain. Afternoon planner, we'll go low to mid 60s later on today, gradually clearing as well. So eventually end up with a little sunshine, and then overnight temperatures very stable. Bottoming out mid 40s, whatnot, light and variable breeze. Don't have to worry about it being blustery and coming in from the south. There's that large one that we were watching down there by the state line. As it kicks off, we kind of calm down as we push from Tuesday into Wednesday, and Wednesday looking delightful, if not warm, for really 2 consecutive days right there. Now Thursday night, pick up a little additional rainfall, probably a little bit more than certainly what we had last night into this morning. Cooler temps on Friday, but back into the 60s there for Saturday and Sunday. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Insta poll on our Facebook page. Of course, it is spring break time in many parts of the country. A number of our kiddos getting this week off as well. One college student in Iowa is using his time off from school to do something just a little out of the ordinary. Hernan Gutierrez with the story.
I thought it would be a fun time.
Most college students spend their spring break somewhere warm, or maybe they come back home to spend some quality time with mom and dad. But one University of Northern Iowa student is running across the state.
Last year I thought it's kind of had my eye on it and thought it'd be fun to go after it.
UNI sophomore Paul Noble hopes to break a record. He started the over 275-mile run in Muscatine on Sunday, running along Iowa State Highway 92 for most of his journey. The fastest known time to run across Iowa, a little over 4 days, 15 hours, and 30 minutes, is held by Taylor Ross, who will be joining Noble on Monday. Noble says it's great to have Ross's support along the way.
Oh, it's awesome. He called me up actually last night and wished me good luck, but yeah, it's really helpful for sure.
Speaking of help, Noble picked up a sponsorship, Charlotte's Kitchen, in Johnston, Iowa, owned by his cousin. Driving along the way is Noble's mom, dad, and girlfriend, with food and water for breaks.
Paul's always set high goals, high lofty goals, so we never know what he's going to do, and so we just wanted to be here because he needs some help along the way.
It's always something with him, but when he told me about it initially, I was like, all right, that makes sense.
A couple of years of training led up to this point, as Noble ran a few ultra marathons in the past. His dad says it's great to see him thrive in the running community.
So it's a lot of fun. He's got a lot of support, and it's definitely worth it to watch your child, kind of shoot for a goal and be able to, hopefully achieve it.
By the sound of it, Noble has a good playlist lined up to get him through his run.
Let's see, I was bumping some T-Swift this morning, some podcasts, washed up walk-ons.
If everything goes according to plan, and hopefully it does for him, Noble expecting to finish his run tomorrow night leads us to our question. What are you doing for spring break? We've got several options on there. One of them, however, is not running across the state. If you're doing that, though, let us know. We're probably a little late in the game for that, but I'd still be curious. You can connect to us via our Facebook page. You can also go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote and the vaunted QR code. Snap a picture of that right there on your phone and it will deliver you to our poll each and every morning. Bronte's coming back with Healthwatch next.
Good morning.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, a study found a dramatic rise in suicidal ingestions among pre-adolescent kids from 2000 through 2020. Ingestions could involve medications or other substances and were categorized as intentional misuse, intentional abuse, or intentional suspected suicide. The researcher said all groups older than 9 years old showed an increase in suicidal ingestions, but the change in those aged 10 to 12 years was the most significant. That group saw more than quadruple of an increase. The researcher said the reason for the suicidal increases are unclear, but noted social media platforms were launched around the same time as the increases were observed. The study was published Monday in the medical journal JAMA Pediatrics. We're learning more about how the COVID-19 vaccines affect new moms. Turns out most moms who got an mRNA vaccine, that's Moderna or Pfizer, developed antibodies in their breast milk. Vaccines from Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca did not provide levels nearly as high. That's the latest from a study published Monday in the Journal of the American Medical Association of Pediatrics. Researchers say it only took about a month after the second dose for the antibodies to show up. The antibodies they were looking for are particularly important in immune protection, and antibodies in breast milk often offer immune protection that can be passed on to the baby. A number of pregnancies in Missouri are ending in tragedy. Missouri comes in near the worst in maternal mortality rates, ranked 42nd. Reporter Alexis Zotto has more on efforts to keep mothers and babies safe.
Inside Jama Birth Center in Ferguson, they are working to improve the maternal mortality rate in Missouri.
A lot of it has to do with access to care, But also when you think about the racial disparities, a lot of times Black and Indigenous people, they aren't getting the proper education and information about what's happening with their bodies. And so they may go home, they don't have support, and they don't understand the changes that their bodies are going through, and they have a newborn baby.
According to the latest statistics from the state, there are 39 deaths for every 100,000 births.
82% of those deaths were preventable.
Bianca Salas with March of Dimes will drive to Jefferson City to ask lawmakers to pass legislation that could make a difference. This includes Senate Bill 698, which calls to expand Medicaid from 60 days to a full year after a woman gives birth.
13 years ago, I was pregnant with her and I was on Medicaid. My eligibility ended at exactly 60 days and I barely was able to see my provider one time.
Salas suffered from postpartum depression, which began a few months after her daughter was born. But the bill, which has bipartisan support, might now be in limbo after a lawmaker tacked on a new amendment.
My Senate amendment, which is the Defund Planned Parenthood amendment, is pending right now.
St. Charles County Senator Bob Onder says the amendment calls for no taxpayer money going toward abortion facilities. Onder calls this a procedural tactic.
The great majority of policy gets passed not as a standalone bill, but as an amendment to other bills.
But those working to keep mothers safe say politics could cost lives.
We are literally killing mothers by saying we're cutting you off at 60 days, and these are people who are low income and at the highest risk.
Again, that was Alexis Zotto reporting. Well, here's one more reason to exercise. Turns out the more fit you are, the less likely you may be to get Alzheimer's, at least according to a study from the Washington VA Medical Center in George Washington University. Researchers tested and tracked nearly 650,000 vets for about a decade. The ones who were the most fit had a 33% lower risk for Alzheimer's, but as fitness decreased, risk went up. Alzheimer's is the most common type of dementia. About 6 million Americans have it, and there's no cure. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Coming up, the city of Joplin will begin laying to rest 2 fallen police officers.
Trace amounts of rain overnight, just some morning sprinkles before the skies gradually begin to clear. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks invites the public out for a week-long blood drive.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. Now let's go over to Michael Hayslip for the first look at the forecast.
Thank you, Bronte. Our trace amounts of precipitation overnight really not amounting to anything. Hard to even find 1/10 of an inch that fell from Monday night into Tuesday morning, with the majority of the rainfall staying down to the southeast of our highlighted counties. Still could run into some morning sprinkles, but everything that's heavy coming off of the Red River is going to cross the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line, make its way to the northeast, stay out of our way for the time being. Heavy thunderstorm activity along the Gulf Coast as well. Our temperatures right now, 47 in Joplin, Chanute, Oswego, Welch, Veneta, already up to the 50-degree mark. Let's roll 43 in both Fort Scott and Nevada. There's the aforementioned Gulf thunderstorm activity up to the Midwest. High pressure system, cold front, but the cold stays to the north of us. So we get to luck out and make it up into the low to mid 60s. Later on today, gradually clearing skies, some later morning and afternoon sunshine as well, and then temperatures stabilizing overnight, say about mid 40s. And really, we're going to have clear skies after we get rid of our morning sprinkles, to the point where we're going to be talking about some abnormally warm temperatures on Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, we're going to jump up into the 70s and have a repeat performance here on Thursday as well. Thursday night going to bring us some scattered rain activity. Kick in probably about 7:30, a little bit more widespread than what we encountered last night into this morning, but still nothing severe. Cooler on Friday, but then back into the 60s on Saturday and Sunday.
All right, thanks, Michael. 2 people are dead after a crash early yesterday in southeast Kansas. It happened around 6:30 in the morning on I-69, about a mile east of Humboldt. The Highway Patrol says 2 pickup trucks hit head-on. Both drivers died at the scene. They were 62-year-old Gordon Lane of Ottawa, Kansas, and 45-year-old Jamie Lynn Ellis of Iola, Kansas. 2 occupants of the Ellis vehicle, an adult and a 6-year-old child, were taken to the hospital for suspected serious injuries. A Lawrence County, Missouri judge sentences 2 more suspects in a kidnapping and murder case. Authorities say Andrew Cyprit of Billings and Lyle DeLong of Stott City were 2 of 9 suspects involved in the kidnapping of 2 women and the murder of one, Sarah Pascoe, in August of 2020. Cyprit and DeLong both pled guilty to charges of second-degree murder and kidnapping. The judge sentences them both to 32 years in prison. 4 other suspects in this case have already been sentenced. You can learn more about those sentences and the case on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Mourners are paying their respects to Corporal Ben Cooper, who was killed in last Tuesday's shooting. The public was permitted to attend a visitation that ended the Leggett and Platt Athletic Center at MSSU at 8 last night. His funeral will be at 1 today at the same location. Corporal Cooper was 46. Missouri's Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe ordered all U.S. and Missouri flags be flown at half staff at all government buildings in Jasper and Newton counties in honor of Corporal Cooper. Funeral services will also take place this week for Officer Jake Reed, killed in the same encounter. These services will also be at the Leggett and Platt Center. Visitation will be on Thursday from 4 to 8 p.m. The funeral will be on Friday at 1. Officer Reed was 27. If you'd like to give back, the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks is hosting a blood drive in honor of these officers. The Unite Joplin Blood Drive is taking place at the Donor Center inside of Joplin's North Park Mall. For each donation given, the Blood Center will donate $5 to the JPD Officer Benevolence Fund to benefit the families of these officers. Donors also receive a long-sleeved pullover and a t-shirt.
We wish this need never occurred, but when these things happen, we are so proud of our donor base. They are so dedicated to the patients that we serve. Community Blood Center's job is to serve 44 local hospitals.
The Unite Joplin Blood Drive lasts until the end of Friday. The Pittsburgh Public Library is giving kids a fun activity while they're on spring break. The library hosted a scavenger hunt. Organizers hid camping items throughout the library's lobby. If a child is able to find all the items, they earn a prize.
I really enjoy whenever people come in to do the scavenger hunt because everyone's so excited. They're getting to explore all over the library. They're seeing places they might not have seen before, you know, when they normally just come in and go right to one area, and it lets them kind of see the library in a new light.
The scavenger hunt will continue through this Friday. You can stop by anytime during library hours to participate. Now here's Michael with a look at your forecast.
Couple 50s already up on the board. Anything that you do see rain-wise, just going to be light sprinkles for, say, next hour, hour and a half. And then we're gradually going to clear off after sunrise at 7:29. Get some late morning and afternoon sunshine that'll lift us up into the 60s. Not going to be too blustery either. We'll just go northeast breeze, 5 to 10 miles per hour. 7-day forecast, 70s for Wednesday and Thursday. Next shot for rain Thursday night into Friday morning.
This morning, we're discussing spring break. Meet Paul Noble. When most people think of spring break, a pretty clear image comes to mind that usually is one of hanging out at the beach. For this University of Northern Iowa student, spring break is all about breaking a record. He plans to run across the state of Iowa and do it fast enough to break a record. The fastest known time to run across Iowa, a little over 4 days and 15 hours and 30 minutes, is held by Taylor Ross, who joined Noble on Monday. He also got the support of family behind him and a good playlist to keep him motivated. Our question, what are you doing for spring break?
82% right now say nada.
Man.
Hey, rightfully so. It's been a crazy 2.5 years, right? Sometimes it's all right to sit back, and I have to laugh at this. 82% say nothing, and then 18% are going with the good old-fashioned staycation. Our other choices, vacation, camping, or movies. Those are getting zeros.
Well, you know, the day is still pretty fresh, I'm sure.
Wouldn't it be great if we had Belinda and the Go-Go's redo it and it was just staycation all I ever wanted? Staycation, how did it get away? Staycation meant to be spent alone.
think I'm picking up what you're laying down.
What, you didn't want me to sing it?
You could.
No, I'm not. My voice nor my aesthetics in general are as pleasing as the incomparable Belinda Carlisle.
Okay, well, maybe later.
Shout out to my girl Belinda.
All right, well, that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. The city of Joplin is still reeling from the loss of 2 police officers. We'll take a look at how one school is feeling the loss of surviving Officer Rick Hershey. Plus, despite the overwhelming odds, the Ukraine military continues to fight back against the Russian onslaught. You're watching the KOAM Morning News, more real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, Western Mariupol is in shambles after sustained Russian airstrikes, with many buildings, including an apartment complex, destroyed as a number of thick plumes of smoke rise in the distance. The drone video was shared by Ukraine's Azov battalion that began as an ultra-nationalist militia, but has since integrated into the Ukrainian armed forces. CNN has geolocated and verified the authenticity of this video. Ukraine's defense ministry has released drone footage of an artillery strike its forces conducted on Russian military positions on the outskirts of Kyiv. The footage, which was uploaded on Monday, shows what is thought to be Russian forces in a grove of trees. While it was unclear where it had been filmed, CNN geolocated the position to an area just east of the village of Ozera. These positions can later be seen hit by artillery. Both Ozera and the village of Moshun have seen significant damage from military strikes as Russia's invasion of Ukraine intensifies. The United States is sending a stern message to China on a potentially negative outcome if they decide to inject themselves into Russia's lethal invasion of Ukraine. This as the Pentagon sounds the alarm that Russia appears to be broadening their target set in western Ukraine. Cole Higgins has the latest.
Shouting, "Stop the war," a protester with an anti-war sign disrupted a broadcast of the Russian state news Monday evening.
Many brave people of conscience in Russia oppose the Kremlin's unjustified war, despite the unprecedented crackdown on dissenting voices.
To the south, in war-torn Ukraine, caught on camera, a bomb exploding dangerously close to a civilian in the capital of Kyiv.
The country is being decimated before the eyes of the world. The impact on civilians is reaching terrifying proportions.
A large Ukrainian flag has been taken down in the now Russian-occupied city of Melitopol. And in the city of Mariupol, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russian attacks are wiping the city out, drone footage captures black plumes of smoke rising from freshly bombed buildings.
Mariupol is the center of the hell that we see in Ukraine at the moment. And the most important priority for Mariupol is to get civilians safely out.
The United States now says it has new intelligence suggesting that China is expressing openness to aid Russia with requested military and financial assistance, according to a Western official and a U.S. diplomat.
We have been very clear, both privately with Beijing, publicly with Beijing, that there would be consequences for any such support.
I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Goes for the dip. In.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Mourners are paying their respects to Corporal Ben Cooper, who was killed in last Tuesday's shooting. The public was permitted to attend a visitation that ended at the Leggett and Platt Athletic Center at MSSU at 8 last night. His funeral will be at 1 today at the same location. Corporal Cooper was 46. Missouri's Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe ordered all U.S. and Missouri flags be flown at half-staff at all government buildings in Jasper and Newton counties in honor of Corporal Cooper. Last week's shooting that left 2 Joplin officers dead and 1 seriously injured has hit close to home for the staff of Eastmoreland Elementary. The shooting at 9th and Connecticut was in Eastmoreland's attendance boundaries, which meant the school had to come up with alternative plans getting kids in that area home that day, but it had another impact. Officer Rick Hershey, who was seriously injured, has served as Eastmoreland School Resource Officer for 15 years, having left that position at the end of last school year. We spoke with staff at the school today who say Officer Hershey had a profound impact on not only them, but the students he served. The Pittsburgh Public Library is giving kids a fun activity while they're on spring break. The library hosted a scavenger hunt. Organizers hid camping items throughout the library's lobby. If a child is able to find all of the items, they earn a prize. The scavenger hunt will continue through this Friday. You can stop by anytime during library hours to participate. The city of Pittsburgh is closing part of a road to do some repairs for a railroad crossing. Work will begin today on the 1100 block east of 22nd Street. During the repairs, that road will be closed off. Detour signs will be put up around the site. The work is expected to be completed on Thursday or Friday. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Got a couple 50s hanging out there on an early Tuesday morning, ranging from southeast Kansas into northeast Oklahoma. Joplin right now sits at 46, along with Carthage. Miami awaiting to get to that 50-degree mark at 49, and Nevada and Fort Scott thrown in there at 43. Oh, Stockton up to 50 degrees as well. So now we've got one in southwest Missouri. Great looking start, and just some morning sprinkles. That's about all we'll get. That thunderstorm activity, that'll ride the Gulf Coast, and that one coming off the Arkansas-Oklahoma state line, that'll stay way down to the southeast of us. Let the skies begin to clear here later this morning. Some sunshine will lift us up into the mid-60s, and then overnight, going to be able to stabilize that to the point where we're going to be looking at Wednesday and Thursday that'll be well above average temperature-wise. Wednesday is going to throw up some 70s, and St. Patrick's Day, being Thursday, will do the same. And speaking of St. Patrick's Day, a little rain begins to kick in Thursday night as it moves in from the northwest, and not looking at anything severe. Could bring us a little more lightning, certainly, than what we experienced last night into this morning. And cooler temps on Friday, but still well above the freezing mark. More KOAM morning news right after this.
Two officers killed in the line of duty. One seriously injured. A community left in mourning. Last week's tragic events hit the Joplin community hard. It also hit close to home for the staff and students at Eastmoreland Elementary. KOAM's Chris Warner has that story.
The events of last week have had a deep impact on Eastmoreland Elementary in Joplin. The scene of the second shooting at 9th and Connecticut was in Eastmoreland's attendance area. The school had to develop alternative plans to get students home safely that afternoon. But it's hit closer to home with the school. Officer Rick Hershey, who was seriously injured, spent the last 15 years as Eastmoreland's school resource officer.
It's been hard to take this information, but we know that he will recover, and he is a strong man.
Officer Hershey stepped down from the SRO position at the end of the last school year. Principal Heather Serbrug says his impact on the school was significant.
Just working with the students was definitely his sweet spot. He has such a huge heart for kids of all ages, and he wants them to be successful and wonderful citizens, and he strove so hard to make sure that that happened, and his connections and relationships with our students was just fantastic.
Because he was the SRO up until last year, many current students are aware of what's happened to their beloved friend, and Serbrug says that's been one of the tougher parts of pushing through the past several days.
Honestly, we've just tried to take a positive spin that he was serving, and that is what they're called to do, and just that we're maintaining our thoughts with him and his precious family and the entire JPD.
The news of what happened to Officer Hershey has taken a toll on staff as well.
It just absolutely made me sick to my stomach with concern and wanted, I don't know, we just wanted to take his pain away.
Officer Hershey was instrumental in getting the Rise Above program started at Eastmoreland. Fifth grade teacher Kyle Graves worked closely with Officer Hershey in that program, which was aimed at teaching students how to avoid dangerous situations like drugs and alcohol. Graves says it was Hershey's connection to the students that made the biggest difference.
I've never seen anything like it. Officer Hershey could enter a room, kids start smiling, and they're up out of their seat before I can even give them a chance to, tell everybody, let's continue to have a seat. They were super excited to see him.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Surbrugg says Eastmoreland is collecting coins for cops, a fundraiser to provide a meal to the Joplin Police Department. She adds any money left over will be donated to the officers' families and to the Joplin Police Department.
Some morning sprinkles that we're holding on to. This system that's down on the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line has a little counterclockwise motion to it. Trying to throw just a little bit back, especially southern and southwest Missouri, but for the most part, trace amounts of rain overnight. So it was fairly unimpressive as we stand over Joplin, 44 degrees. Our temperatures, especially over Joplin, have kind of gone back and forth. We still have some 50s out there. Chanute, Welch, Veneta, Stockton, Newata, all sitting already at 50 degrees pre-sunrise. Speaking of, sunrise will be at 7:29. 7:29 will be our magic time for today. We are going to have temperatures up into the mid-60s, gradually clearing skies. So eventually some sunshine for the afternoon hours, and we keep warming up here. We'll get the 70s on Wednesday and Thursday and talk about our Thursday rain coming up here when we return.
Coming up, the city of Joplin will begin laying to rest 2 fallen police officers.
And on this somber Tuesday, a little light rain for our early morning hours, but eventually clearing off. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks invites the public out for a week-long blood drive.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. We're going to start things off by tossing over to Michael with a first look at the weather.
Give you an idea of how those skies are beginning to already clear off, Bronte. Earlier, that's a great shot of the moon right there. If you look off to the west, it was shrouded in some light cloud cover. Now, coming in pretty loud and clear. 44 degrees as we sit over 7th and Rangeline. All the rain staying down to the southeast, barely hitting our highlighted counties. A little bit there in northwest Arkansas. What we are seeing is this thing try to turn over on itself here, a little counterclockwise motion. That's why we could get some later morning sprinkles, but that's all it'll amount to. Our afternoon or late night into early morning accumulation, trace amounts. Didn't really even pick up 1/10 of an inch, and this heavier band that's moving right across the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line will continue to make its northeasterly track stay out of our way. Do have some 50s down there in northeast Oklahoma. Throw Stockton in as well. 45 in Pittsburgh. Miami now up to 50 along with Anderson. 45 in Fort Scott and Nevada. Thunderstorm activity going to skirt along the Gulf Coast right here. And the cold front that stays up to our northwest not going to play a role in our weather, as we'll be able to make it up into the mid-60s with gradually clearing skies and eventually some sunshine as we put future track into motion. That's the extent of our rain for today. And then as we get into Wednesday, we're going to be talking about throwing up some temperatures for the afternoon hours that'll be up around 70 degrees. Great looking Wednesday and Thursday. Now, speaking of Thursday, watch up to our northwest here. There's a little heat wave that kicks in, but then as it begins to sink down on us on Thursday, that next rain system moves in from the west-northwest. A little bit more widespread, certainly, than what we had last night into this morning. A little thunder and lightning with it as well, but still not looking at anything severe.
Thanks, Michael. Definitely some nice, pretty mild weather, especially because it's
Not
spring
bad.
break.
Not bad. And like I said, by the time Thursday rolls around, we're going to find ourselves at that point in time just about an inch down from our normal rain totals. We need some, especially out to the west, where we're seeing the drought monitor start to pick up the extreme category.
Thanks, Michael. 2 people are dead after a crash early yesterday in southeast Kansas. Happened around 6:30 in the morning on U-169, about a mile east of Humboldt. The Highway Patrol says 2 pickup trucks hit head-on. Both drivers died at the scene. They were 62-year-old Gordon Lane of Ottawa, Kansas, and 45-year-old Jamie Lynn Ellis of Iola, Kansas. 2 occupants of the Ellis vehicle, an adult and a 6-year-old child, were taken to the hospital for suspected serious injuries. A Lawrence County, Missouri judge sentences 2 more suspects in a kidnapping and murder case. Authorities say Andrew Seipert of Billings and Lyle DeLong of Stott City were 2 of 9 suspects involved in the kidnapping of 2 women and their murder of one, Sarah Pascoe, in August of 2020. Seipert and DeLong both pled guilty to charges of second-degree murder and kidnapping. The judge sentenced them both to 32 years in prison. 4 other suspects in this case have already been sentenced. You can learn more about those sentences and the case on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Last week's shooting that left 2 Joplin officers dead and 1 seriously injured has hit close to home for the staff of Eastmoreland Elementary. The shooting at 9th and Connecticut was in Eastmoreland's attendance boundaries, which meant the school had to come up with alternative plans to getting kids in that area home that day. But it had another impact. Officer Rick Hershey, who was seriously injured, has served as Eastmoreland School Resource Officer for 15 years, having left that position at the end of last year. We spoke with staff at the school yesterday who say Officer Hershey had a profound impact on not only them, but the students he served.
Yeah, Officer Hershey was just one of the most dedicated individuals I've worked with over the years. He built a relationship with everyone that he came in contact with, and he has such a huge love just for people in general, not just our students, but our staff and everyone in the community. There wasn't a time when I wouldn't be out in the community and see him and he wouldn't be interacting with someone.
Surbrugg says Eastmoreland is collecting Coins for Cops, a fundraiser to provide a meal to the Joplin Police Department. She adds any money left over will be donated to the officers' families and to the Joplin Police Department. Mourners are paying their respects to Corporal Ben Cooper, who was killed in last Tuesday's shooting. The public was permitted to attend a visitation that ended at the Leggett and Platt Athletic Center at MSSU at 8 last night. His funeral will be at 1 today at the same location. Corporal Cooper was 46. Missouri's Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe ordered all U.S. and Missouri flags be flown at half-staff at all government buildings in Jasper and Newton counties in honor of Corporal Cooper. Funeral services will also take place this week for Officer Jake Reed, killed in the same encounter. These services will also be at the Leggett and Platt Center. Visitation will be on Thursday from 4 to 8 p.m. The funeral will be on Friday at 1. Officer Reed was 27. A national civil rights group is suing Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt over his decision to prohibit the state from issuing birth certificates listing a non-binary option. Lambda Legal filed the lawsuit in federal district court in Tulsa. The first-term Republican governor issued the executive order in November. It reversed the State Department of Health's practice of allowing transgender people to change the gender marker on their birth certificate or offering a non-binary option instead of designating a gender. The Pittsburgh Public Library is giving kids a fun activity while they're on spring break. The library hosted a scavenger hunt. Organizers hid camping items throughout the library's lobby. If a child is able to find all the items, they earn a prize.
So I think the staff really enjoy it as well, seeing all the bright, happy faces scurrying around, oh, I found it, I found it. That's always fun for the staff to experience as well.
The scavenger hunt will continue through this Friday. You can stop by anytime during library hours to participate. On this day, in 1869, the Cincinnati Reds Stockings became the first professional baseball team. Cincinnati attorney Aaron Champion hires former cricket player Harry Wright to organize, manage, and play for the Cincinnati Red Stockings. The organization of the club comes shortly after the National Association of Baseball Players, which had previously banned the payment of players, allows open professionalism after the close of the 1868 season. In that inaugural season, the Red Stockings finished the season with the 57-0 record, 64-0 with exhibitions included. Baseball still in the underhand pitch iteration of the sport, so the team routinely scored dozens of runs in games. The Red Stockings defeated the Buckeyes of Cincinnati in 103-8.
For anybody who's curious and would like to take a deeper dive into what baseball was like back then, Darrell Brock is an author who wrote a marvelous book called If I Never Get Back. and it's about a journalist who time travels and ends up in the 1860s, latching on with the Cincinnati Reds and Harry Wright.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wonderful book. Also, too, the Cincinnati Reds have ties to Carthage, Missouri.
What? How?
O.P. Kaler, who was Cincinnati Enquirer, he ran it and got him out of debt, bought the team at one point in time. He actually ended up in Carthage opening a newspaper there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, very cool. I didn't even realize that this had a local tie-in. That is very cool.
Yeah. Carthage, Missouri was at one point the newspaper in Carthage, Missouri. And granted, this is like back in the late 1800s. But yeah, the newspaper in Carthage, Missouri was started by the man who at one point in time worked for the Cincinnati Enquirer and ran the Cincinnati Reds.
All right, that's super cool.
Hey, and I appreciate Ron and Carenza, our incomparable producers, giving this our moment and this day in history, seeing as how the Reds decided to trade Jesse Winker yesterday to Seattle.
Oh.
Thank you, Bob Castellini.
All right, well.
As our current owner of the Cincinnati Reds. He's evidently just decided that we're just gonna. It is good. Spring training was fun for like 2 days. Now that Jesse's gone, I don't know.
So I kind of figured you would like the story.
I do. I love the story.
It just seems you have a lot more to say about the team, though.
I have a lot more to say. We just trade Sonny Gray one day, trade Eugenio Suarez and Jesse Winker last night, and Carthage. Yeah. At least I came up with a tie-in.
Yeah. Yeah, that was super cool. I really had no idea. I was really just going to be like, well, Michael, I know you know a lot about Cincinnati, so I was going to let you have at it, but I like the local tie-in.
Yeah. O period, P period, Kaler. C as in cat, A-Y-L-O-R.
All right.
If anybody wants to look him up.
Definitely. Well, it is 6.
What is it? It's
6:10. I tried.
No, that's cool.
We went a little over
I've got 18 clocks around here. It's fine. 63 degrees today, gradually clearing skies. Anything that we do get rain-wise for the next hour and a half. Just some light sprinkles. Wasn't even enough to really get our intersections wet overnight, and then get ready for the 70s on Wednesday and Thursday.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we'll introduce you to Bernice Bolton, who just turned 100 years old, and take a look at her birthday party. Plus, as gas prices continue to rise across the country, so does the danger of gas theft. We'll show you some ways you can protect yourself. And the suicide rate among active duty military service members increased by more than 41%. We'll take a look at ways family and friends can help those who may be struggling. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, authorities in South Florida are preparing more than 100 migrants to process and send back to Haiti. They arrived in a sailboat at an oceanfront home in Summerland and Key. That's about 20 miles from Key West. Officials have intercepted nearly 1,000 migrants from Haiti since late 2021. In smuggling operations they describe as glowingly sophisticated, traffickers using GPS navigation are able to take more dangerous routes in waters that are not frequently monitored by authorities. The sailboat they used this time had an outboard motor, but was not big enough to safely carry so many people. Authorities believe the group was at sea for several days. 4 of them were taken to the hospital with dehydration. There's a new warning about a crime that some are linking to the high price of gas, and Metro Police Department said there are a few cases of it happening in the Kansas City area. Here's a closer look at how and some advice on how you can prevent gas theft from happening to you.
It was 4:25 in the morning, March 8th, when this man with a small gas can parks and approaches John Blazer's truck.
Gets 2 gallons worth of gas, gets back in his vehicle and drives off. He was here for a total of 4 minutes.
Blazer says his truck was full, 34 gallons. He says the suspect took about 2 gallons and let the rest go down the street and into the storm drain.
I just like to talk to the guy.
What would you tell them? What would you ask?
Oh, there wouldn't be much talking. It'd be fist action.
Police say that same night, another truck was drained just a few blocks away. Overland Park had a similar case 3 weeks ago. Christian Brothers Automotive Independence says the thieves typically target trucks, big vans, or SUVs.
They have a lot of ground clearance. They have big fuel tanks. They're easy to get to, easy to get out of.
In the last 6 months, the repair shop has helped 3 vehicles after gas thefts. It's something they saw in 2008.
That isn't surprising to see it come back. I wish it wouldn't, but we do see that come up when there's a quick spike in the price of fuel.
Repairs can cost a couple $100 to $1,000 or more. Prevention is the best option.
Our recommendation would be to, number one, park in the garage. If you have a garage, I know that's not available for everybody, but if you have a garage, to put it in there.
Number 2, police say park off the street in your driveway and have adequate light.
One thing I can say is make sure you got some good cameras.
Blazer was able to repair his truck. He hopes the man is caught and that no one else is drained.
2 people are dead, including the gunman and 4 others who were hurt in a shooting in New Mexico. The Albuquerque Police Department says officers responded to a call that someone was shot in a residential area Monday afternoon. As they made contact with the victim, police heard gunshots coming from up the street. That's where they found another victim. Both are expected to recover. Officers then found another victim who appeared to be dead. Authorities say when police found the gunman, he shot both officers. They suffered minor injuries and were treated at the hospital. Jury selection began Monday for the man accused of killing former NBA player Lorenzen Wright. Former NBA player. Lorenzen Wright was murdered more than a decade ago. Billy Ray Turner and Wright's ex-wife Shara Wright were arrested and charged with Wright's murder in 2017, 7 years after the crime. Shara Wright pleaded guilty in 2019 to charges of facilitation to commit first-degree murder and is currently in prison. Turner is charged with first-degree murder but says he is innocent. 15 jurors were selected Monday. The trial is set to start Tuesday morning. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
Goes for the dip.
When you turn 100, you can do whatever you want. And for one Wisconsin woman, that meant a bowling birthday party. Taylor Lumpkin with her story.
She may not look it, but this woman just turned 100 years old today.
This is my first birthday party I ever had.
Bernice Bolton was born on March 14th, 1922, and moved to Racine when she was just 4 years old. One marriage and 2 kids later, she's sharing her secrets with all of you.
To live to be 100, eat right, exercise, and pray.
She has arthritis. And I think she takes 1 pill a day, so that's pretty good for 100.
If you haven't already noticed, Bernice isn't your typical birthday girl. This powerhouse of a woman has been bowling every Monday at Castle Lanes with her senior league. Your 100th birthday, how are you feeling?
Well, so far so good if I could bowl.
Her son John says he always knew his mom would make it to 100, even after having a few medical scares, including lung cancer.
She has her own apartment. She's independent. Yeah, she bowls. She does her own shopping. She does everything.
Friends and family came out to celebrate the huge milestone Monday, and even though she bowled a 133 on her first game, Bernice says she's focused on becoming a better bowler. Thank you so much.
Now can I bowl?
To come. Look at our 7-day forecast with light sprinkles for this morning, and then we're going to be up into the 60s later on today with some sunshine. We'll break down that forecast when we return right after this.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, the suicide rate among active duty service members in the U.S. military increased by more than 41% between 2015 and 2020, according to the Department of Defense. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin called the findings, which came out last fall, troubling. One expert says there are ways family and friends can help members of the military who may be struggling with thoughts of suicide. Mandy Gaither has more.
It's a disturbing trend, active duty military members taking their own lives.
A lot of the strategies that have been employed over the past few decades to prevent and reduce military suicides, by and large, have not worked.
Craig Bryan is a veteran himself. The clinical psychologist serves as director of the suicide prevention program at Ohio State University's Wexner Medical Center. He says even when military members aren't deployed, they face stressors that others don't.
Service members often move very frequently every few years, so it often separates them from family members, from support networks.
To support members of the military, be aware. Bryan says many people who are suicidal make statements that raise concerns.
These are things such as, I can't take this anymore. I can't imagine anyone being able to stand this pain. No one can help me solve my problems. People would be better off without me.
Bryan says the next important thing to do is listen. He says we've got to shift the dialogue around suicide.
Suicide's hard to talk about. When someone is experiencing suicidal thoughts, they oftentimes will experience a lot of shame. They're worried about how other people will react or respond to them.
Bottom line, Bryan says family and friends should be there to offer support.
And through increased connectedness, we can actually prevent suicide.
Since research shows firearms are the primary method of suicide for service members, experts say locking up or securing guns can stop a person from acting impulsively. To get help, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. There is also a crisis text line. For crisis support in Spanish, call 1-888-628-9454. New research published in JAMA International Medicine finds cholesterol-fighting statins had an inconsistent and inconclusive impact on lowering the risk of heart disease. The study showed the link between bad cholesterol and poor health outcomes like heart attack and stroke may not be as strong as previously thought. Researchers say the overall benefit of taking statins depends on an individual's personal risk factors. Prostate cancer rates for men 45 and older are on the rise. A new study shows rates have increased significantly with recommendations against routine prostate cancer screenings. Doctors say those screenings help uncover cases early, but they must be balanced with overdiagnosis and overtreatment of low-risk prostate cancer cases. And scientists in the UK have discovered a way to help pacemakers and hearing aids work better. On studies on mice, doctors found adding an anti-inflammatory drug to the coating of an implant helped reduce the amount of scar tissue that usually forms around the device. It's important because too much scar tissue prevents electrical stimulation from reaching the nervous system, causing the implant to fail. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Going to have temperatures make it up into the 60s later on today. It'll be absolutely delightful. Any rain that we do get today is just going to be, or this morning I should say, just some light sprinkles, gradually clearing skies and only a northeast breeze, 5 to 10 miles per hour. We'll call that a winter coming off of how blustery it was yesterday. Interesting thing is even with the wind coming in from the northeast, it will be a couple degrees warmer than what we had on Monday. Here's Future Track as everything kind of spins through central Arkansas for the duration of the morning and even afternoon hours. Then we get ready for some abnormally warm temperatures on Wednesday and Thursday. Look at that, raising up into the 70s for the middle of the week before we get a little St. Patrick's night rain that'll carry us into Friday. We'll be back right after this.
Coming up, the city of Joplin will begin laying to rest 2 fallen police officers.
And even some morning sprinkles are going to subside. The funeral procession and route should be clear as we prepare ourselves for a solemn Tuesday.
Also, the Community Blood Centers of the Ozarks invites the public out for a week-long blood drive.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:31. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. I'm going to toss it over to Michael Hayslip for a look at the forecast.
Thank you, Bronte. I wouldn't exactly call it a wet intersection, just a little damp. You may notice some raindrops on the windshield. That's about the extent of it. 44 degrees is where we stand over Joplin right now. Majority of the rainfall staying down to the southeast. We picked up just trace amounts hardly even a tenth of an inch in most places where it fell overnight. This system that's now progressed across the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line will stay down to our southeast. You can tell it's got a little counterclockwise movement to it down there, so that's why we may end up with just some light rain, if not just sprinkles later on this morning as it kind of throws it back up, but it'll be done here in the next hour and a half. Throwing up some 50s as well. Miami, Grove, Nowata, Stockton already at that 50-degree mark. 46 right now in Pittsburgh. Let's roll 46 in Neosho and Monette as well. Thunderstorm activity going to be limited to the Gulf into Florida. The cold front stays up to our northwest. We're actually going to be in store for 3 pretty nice days of March weather here. Gradually clearing skies, bringing us some sunshine for the afternoon hours as we work toward future track and get ready for some abnormally warm days on Wednesday and Thursday. Watch this Wednesday kick up 70 every now and then. So that's going to be great news. Thursday back into the 70s. Get a little rain activity for Thursday night, more widespread than what we encountered last night into this morning, and that takes us into Friday. Cooler temperatures on Friday, but still a nice rebound with the 60s over the weekend.
Definitely good to see. Pretty mild overall. So
not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Not bad.
Thanks, Michael. Mourners are paying their respects to Corporal Ben Cooper, who was killed in last Tuesday's shooting. The public was permitted to attend a visitation that ended at the Leggett and Platt Athletic Center at MSSU at 8 last night. His funeral will be at 1 today at that same location. Corporal Cooper was 46. Missouri's Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe ordered all U.S. and Missouri flags be flown at half staff at all government buildings in Jasper and Newton counties in honor of Corporal Cooper. Funeral services will also take place this week for Officer Jake Reed, who was killed in the same encounter. These services will also be at the Leggett and Platt Center. Visitation will be Thursday from 4 to 8 p.m. The funeral will be on Friday at 1. Officer Reed was 27. If you'd like to give back, the Community Blood Center of the Ozarks is hosting a blood drive in honor of the officers. The Unite Joplin Blood Drive is taking place at the Donor Center inside of Joplin's North Park Mall. For each donation given, the Blood Center will donate $5 to the JPD Officer Benevolence Fund to benefit the families of these officers. Donors also receive a long-sleeve pullover and a t-shirt.
We wish this need never occurred, but when these things happen, we are so proud of our donor base. They are so dedicated to the patients that we serve. Community Blood Center's job is to serve 44 local hospitals.
The Unite Joplin Blood Drive lasts until the end of Friday. Today, Russian and Ukrainian officials are set to hold another round of talks aimed at a ceasefire, but the U.S. says Vladimir Putin doesn't appear to want a diplomatic solution. Laura Podesta is in New York with the latest on the war in Ukraine.
The Russian offensive has largely stalled on the ground in Ukraine.
Some of that is due to their own stumbles and missteps and logistical problems, but a lot of it is due to the Ukrainian resistance.
The Kremlin has responded by stepping up its aerial barrage. Missiles continue to rain down on Kyiv and other cities. Despite the bombardment, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said his government would continue to hold ceasefire talks with Russia. Zelensky is scheduled to deliver a virtual address to the U.S. Congress tomorrow. He's expected to urge lawmakers to send more military and humanitarian aid.
We will not allow any country to compensate Russia for its losses.
The White House warned China not to interfere after Moscow reportedly asked Beijing for weapons and cash.
Should they provide military or other assistance that, of course, violates sanctions or supports the war effort, that there will be significant consequences.
Nearly 3 million people have already fled from the violence in Ukraine, according to the UN. Poland has received more than half of the refugees. Laura Podesta, CBS News, New York.
The ceasefire negotiations will take place over a video link. The initial talks had been held face-to-face in Belarus. Yesterday, Ukraine's prosecutor general said the two sides have also discussed a prisoner exchange. Well, beware the Ides of March. On this day back in 44 BC, Roman dictator Julius Caesar is stabbed to death in the Roman Senate House by 60 conspirators led by Marcus Junius Brutus and Gaius Cassius Longinus. Caesar was ultimately appointed Roman consul and dictator, but before settling in Rome, he traveled around the empire for several years and consolidated his rule. In 45 BC, he returned to Rome and was made dictator for life. As sole Roman ruler, Caesar launched ambitious programs of reform within the empire. He was assassinated on March 15, 44 BC by a group of conspirators who believed that his death would lead to the restoration of the Roman Republic. His assassination only served to throw Rome into fresh civil wars.
Even you, Brutus, even you.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to all of you that drive Jeep Rubicons. We have a thing that we do in the Hayslip household. Whenever we walk across one in the parking lot, Caitlin and I, my daughter, we will snap a picture of ourselves going across said Jeep. We send it to each other and just be like, guess what? Just cross the Rubicon again.
Michael, I see like your mouth twitching and I'm trying to read what's going on.
Julius Caesar, as he
Oh.
crossed the Rubicon, made his way to defeat Pompey, and then declare himself Caesar for life. So yes, if you ever see, you're going to think about that next time you're out on the road.
I think I will.
And you see a Jeep coming this way and you're going this way, you're going to be like, I just crossed the Rubicon. Ain't no going back now. 7-day forecast going to give us partly sunny skies later on today. Anything that we do get morning-wise, light sprinkles. And then let's work up into the 60s today, 70s on Wednesday and Thursday.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Gas prices and gas theft is on everybody's mind these days. We'll show you some ways you can save money when you go to the pump. Plus, we usually think of college kids partying during spring break, but not Paul Noble. He plans to run across his state for spring break. We want to know what you're doing for spring break. We'll let you weigh in and we'll be right back.
At Affordable Din.
In Consumer Watch this morning, filling up your tank is coming with a higher price tag. Danya Bacchus has tips for how you can save money on gas.
At gas stations across the country, frustration is growing.
It doesn't make sense for us to pay $6 a gallon?
With prices hitting levels not seen in a decade, drivers like Megan Barzesh are looking for bargains.
I'm trying to save some money. I decided to have membership with Costco so I get cheaper prices.
Memberships can come with a great advantage.
Doug Shoup with AAA says Costco, Sam's Club, and other wholesale stores offer some of the best discounts on gas.
But keep in mind, a lot of people know about those, so you may wait in some long lines to get that gasoline.
To find the cheapest fuel at traditional stations, apps like Gas Buddy, AAA Mobile, and Google Maps list prices in your area.
You can also save by using regular grade gas. AAA says only use the more expensive premium gas if your vehicle requires it. If not, regular gas will do.
On the road, maximize fuel efficiency by staying out of the fast lane.
Most vehicles will hit their peak fuel efficiency at about 50 miles per hour. Then it starts to go down the faster the vehicle goes. So if you reduce your freeway speeds by 5 to 10 miles per hour, you can actually increase your fuel economy by up to 14%.
Shoup says it's also important to keep the car running at peak performance.
And that's with the maintenance of your vehicle.
Absolutely.
Replacing dirty air filters and faulty spark plugs helps the engine burn less fuel, and keeping tires properly inflated can lead to savings down the road. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Many grocery stores offer loyalty programs, and those points can be cashed in for discounts at certain gas stations. Stocks largely fell Monday amid worries over a new coronavirus surge in China. The Dow was the exception, gaining just over a point. The Nasdaq fell 262 and the S&P 500 dropped 31. Rising COVID-19 cases have prompted lockdowns in several Chinese cities. It's the biggest outbreak in the country in more than 2 years. The restrictions have forced many businesses to close, including the factory that makes iPhone and iPad parts. Foxconn says it will move its production lines to an area that's not under a lockdown order. And the White House says economic sanctions imposed on Russia have already caused a financial crisis there. The Treasury Department predicts the Kremlin will soon have to decide how it will fund its war on Ukraine. The Russian government is threatening to repay foreign debts in rubles instead of dollars or euros. Experts say doing so could trigger a default. That's it for Consumer Watch, and let's go over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Bronte. This morning, it's all about spring break. A gentleman by the name of Paul Noble has got a noble spring break goal. He wants to break the record for running across the state of Iowa. He's a student at Northern Iowa University, and guess if he can do this in 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes, he's going to break the previous record. Got his family and friends behind him and says he's got a good playlist to keep him motivated. But now that we've got spring break for the majority of the 4 states, we're asking what you're doing over the spring break, well, vacation, staycation, whatever it be. 82% of you go, really don't have anything on the docket. 4% of you say you're getting out of town. 10% say, yeah, just going to enjoy some time at home. And now we're up to 4% that are going to get outside and perhaps do a little camping. Appreciate your engagement each and every morning. Several ways to connect. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote will take you directly to the poll. You can also connect to us via our Facebook page. Or if you have your phone handy, you can snap a picture of the QR code that you see right there on your screen, and it will take you to the poll. We're going to come back and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first, a look at what's coming up on CBS Mornings.
I'm Tony DeCopel. Coming up on CBS Mornings, director Jonas Poher Rasmussen joins us to talk about his animated documentary. It's called Flee. It's a film nominated for 3 Academy Awards. It's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero. This morning, we salute Scott Healy. The Pittsburgh native was a staff sergeant in the U.S. Marines. He served from 1989 to 2000. He was a part of the Gulf War and was based in Afghanistan and Kuwait during this time. We are proud to salute Scott Healy, our 4-state hero.
The birthday list begins with a patriotic Emma Rios, who's celebrating her 7th birthday. Emma, I want you to have a marvelous birthday, kiddo. She's in McCune.
Up next, we have Kaylin Phillips, also turning 7 in Riverton. So happy birthday, Kaylin.
Our trip to the DMV is in store as Jacob Lansdowne go make the license official, celebrating the big number 16. Jacob, happy birthday in Carthage.
Also, out of Carthage, we have Aiden No turning 17 years old. Happy birthday, Aiden.
Run out to Lamar, and that's where Julie Cox is celebrating her 53rd birthday. Happy birthday, Julie.
Next, out of Pittsburgh,
there she is.
Becca Sandberg. Happy birthday, Becca.
Miss Becca, a very happy birthday to you, ma'am. Miss seeing you all the time. She's a marvelous, marvelous person right there. She takes care of a lot of people. A lot of people. Happy birthday, Becca. Chuck and Sandy Stanley, they are celebrating their 53rd anniversary. They are out there at Crawford State Park. And Chuck and Sandy, I hope that you get some serious time outside, especially with the great temperatures we're going to have middle of the week out there in Farlington. And a congratulations to you.
Up next, we have Heather Marsh.
Who that is?
Turning 42, and fun fact, she's actually our assignment editor, Stephanie Marsh's older sister.
She's extended KOAM family. Happy birthday, Heather. Megan Hess is turning 22. A happy birthday to Megan. William Best turning 18. And William, I want you to know the birthday wish is coming with love from Dad. And Octava Lehman, now 27. Octava celebrating in Frontenac.
We have an anniversary, Bill and R.G. Hickman. They're celebrating their 64th out of Deerfield, and Bill is also one of our many 4-state heroes, and also celebrated a birthday last week.
It's busy in the Hickman household now. Tell you what, Jem and Brenda Armstrong, they are celebrating their 19th anniversary in Moran. And Jim and Karen Vaughn, 51st anniversary. Congratulations, Jim and Karen. They are in Crestline.
Next, we have Brenda Martin, out of Columbus, turning 77 years old. We have Krista McFarland, out of Columbus again, turning 54. And last but certainly not least, we have Christian Lieberknecht. He turned 16 on Friday, and he has love from Grandma Diane and his whole family.
And a happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this March the 15th. That's where you can send them into. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com or go to KOAMNewsNow.com. Now, here is Bronte Sorosky with a very important birthday announcement.
You can be part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And you can get special deals from local businesses. So go to KOAMNewsNow.com, sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Coming up when we transition over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, there's a new film called Master, and it debuts this week. It's set at an elite Northeastern college, and when I see that line, I go, fa fa fa. The director calls it a spooky drama. But it's also bringing some very real and scary social issues to the big screen as well. We're going to take a deeper dive into that when we switch over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 at 7 a.m. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Mourners are paying their respects to Corporal Ben Cooper, who was killed in last Tuesday's shooting. The public was permitted to attend a visitation that ended at the Leggett and Platt Athletic Center at MSSU at 8 last night. His funeral will be at 1 today at the same location. Corporal Cooper was 46. Missouri's Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe ordered all U.S. and Missouri flags be flown at half-staff at all government buildings in Jasper and Newton counties in honor of Corporal Cooper. Last week's shooting that left 2 Joplin officers dead and 1 seriously injured has hit close to home for the staff of Eastmoreland Elementary. The shooting at 9th and Connecticut was in Eastmoreland's attendance boundaries, which meant the school had to come up with alternative plans to getting kids in that area home that day. But it had another impact. Officer Rick Hershey, who was seriously injured, had served as Eastmoreland School Resource Officer for 15 years, having left that position at the end of the last school year. We spoke with staff at the school yesterday who say Officer Hershey had a profound impact on not only them, but the students he served. The Pittsburgh Public Library is giving kids a fun activity while they're on spring break. The library hosted a scavenger hunt. Organizers hid camping items throughout the library's lobby. If a child is able to find all of the items, they get a prize. Scavenger hunt will continue through this Friday. You can stop by any time during library hours to participate. The City of Pittsburgh is closing part of a road to do some repairs for a railroad crossing. Work will begin today on the 1100 block east of 22nd Street. During the repairs, that road will be closed off. Detour signs will be put up around the site. The work is expected to be completed on Thursday or Friday. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Some light sprinkles when you do head out the door. I don't even know if an umbrella's worth it. Not going to last too long. And our temperatures already reaching mid to high 40s, if not a 50 every now and then. Top out around, say mid 60s this afternoon, gradually clearing skies and just a little northeasterly breeze, so that's not too bad whatsoever. As we dip into Futurecast here and get rid of that rain down to the southeast, and then sit back and get ready for some above average temperatures for both Wednesday and Thursday. Watch this Wednesday. Look at that, shoot right into the 70s. That's going to be delightful. Thursday night, going to bring us some additional rainfall that'll actually stay with us until Friday morning as well.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making Luck of the Irish Cake in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Morning news continues on KOAM with the CBS Mornings coming up next. There is an unwelcome trend of unruly passengers on airplanes. Coming up, we're going to go behind the scenes with air marshals as they train to keep you safe in the sky.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, Jean Moose is back, and she's got an unlikely story about Rod Stewart. Plus, Plus, we'll take a look at technology is giving a voice to nonverbal children. Stick with us.
See if Jeannie says you wear it well.
Today's Pledge of Allegiance is from Marmonton Valley Elementary.